there's this group of parents out there, and everyone who's listening will know who you are, that you actually want to vaccinate, but you just feeling judged, but you're worried that, there is some stuff, and what do you do? And now if you vaccinate, that means you're not a natural parent. Of course, you're still a natural mama. You can still be part of the natural parenting Facebook groups. You can still go to all the homeopathic things. You can still listen to this podcast. It shouldn't matter which way you immunize your child. You do what feels right for you, because there's so much data out there. You can find out horrible things about vaccination and horrible things about how homeopathy doesn't work, and there's all these different, you can find whatever you want, really. At the end of the day, you just got to go with your gut. So for practitioners, if you're offering immunization discussions or immunization consultations, however you want to word them, make sure you're giving your patient all the options and let them make that decision. I always just say, just give them their options and let them walk away. So I would love to go through how I say it, just simply. So essentially the way I see it, and this is just how I see it, other people might add different things in here, but how I see it is you have 4 options when it comes to immunization. There is...
How lucky are we to have Leah Golden back for another episode? Now, if you haven't already, go check out last week's episode where Leah spoke on tautopathy. But this week, Leah is speaking on immunization options. And we don't mean like the fake kind of options where, you get told it's an option for immunization, but it's not really. She is actually giving you various options for immunization and various types of immunization. I think she's done the perfect job of really balancing all the information, all the options out there. And this really is such an incredible skill to have as a health practitioner, to be able to give your clients all the options and then let them make a decision, and then just supporting them from that place, whatever they decide. Now, if you would like to know more about Leah, you can visit her website, whmr.com.au. That's for Holistic Health Macedon Ranges. So whmr.com.au. You can also visit leahgolden.com. That's Leah golden.com. And you can check out her dad's website, Dr. Isaac Golden, at homestudy.au. So that's HOMSTUDY.au. Thanks so much for listening.
Welcome to the Homeopathy Hangout Podcast, where we discuss all things homeopathy from around the world. And now our mum and your host, Eugenie Kruger.
Hello, homies. If you have just joined us, we are hanging out with Leah Golden, and you're going to have to listen to last week's episode as well. And then also, if you're using Spotify, it's a bit easier. Just type in the search box Leah Golden, or go to homeopathyhangout.com and type in Leah Golden. We're doing back-to-back recordings, but you guys have had to wait for a little while to get to this one, but it's going to be worth the wait, believe me. It is on homeopathic immunization with the one and only Leah Golden. Welcome back, Leah.
Thank you. The controversy. Just that word, immunization. I know. I'm like, okay, I don't want to get you kicked off anything ever again, so I'm going to keep it as friendly as possible. But
I just want to say about the kicking off, and I didn't say this to you last time, but we learn from everything, right? And it just was such a good reminder getting kicked off YouTube, just like the backing up of everything. And just a reminder that none of these other platforms, unless it's your own, is yours. Like, you can be kicked off anytime. So the valuable lesson from that was worth it. It was worth it. I feel like it set me up better for future, because it's going to happen again. None of these platforms are ours. Instagram, Facebook, your followers, you think they're yours. They're not. So anyway, for those homeopaths building your businesses, build your email list and get your own website with your info. Okay.
Yeah, so great advice. Yeah. Immunization, one of my favorite topics. And I'm trying to strip back the controversy of this. And this is why I wanted to talk today about immunization options. So I wanted to go through the different methods of immunization available to every single person. Now, unfortunately, because of some legislations in Australia, you can't always, get your children into, say, daycare and kinder. So there's not always our choice. Sometimes we have to choose a method we may not want to. But I really wanted to come on and talk about this so everyone listening knows that even if you have to do a method that you don't, so say you have to vaccinate, you're like, I don't want to vaccinate, I want to homeopathically immunize, but you have to and you have to vaccinate, then we have some great protocols to help the body sort of heal through that, so that you can just put your mind at ease that you're doing everything you can to clear out any potential toxicity and prevent any potential injury or damage from, because any pharmaceutical product could cause damage. It's not just vaccines. People are allergic to penicillin. People can have reactions to histamine medications, antibiotics, to Panadol, too much Panadol, and you're going to end up getting your stomach pumped. So, all pharmaceutical products can have reactions, and vaccines are no different. So, but people it's very emotive.
Very charged.
It's very charged. So I really like to, when parents come in, and I call them immunization discussions. And I call them immunization discussions because they're really a discussion at the beginning, because there's a lot of options and you've got a lot of ways, and you need to sometimes take that home and think about it, especially when women are coming in super pregnant or like breastfeeding a newborn, and they're like, it's proper baby brain, sleep deprivation. And you just like dump all this information on them and they're like, whoa. So I'm like, take it home, digest it, talk about it, think about it in the future as well, what that's going to look like. Like, make a plan with your partner and say, oh, do we want to put him in daycare? Like, talk about these things. It's beautiful to plan the future and get excited about these things. So I do call them discussions. And then I say to people, take your time and then get back to me with what you want. Now, some people will come in and be like, oh, I know exactly what I want, but I will always still give them all of their options. And I think from a legal viewpoint, it's really important. And also from an empowering viewpoint, it's really important, because that's not what the general practitioners and the doctors are doing. They should be doing it, because obviously pharmaceutical physicians have a bias to pharmaceutical products. I have a huge bias to homeopathic products. Yeah, so we're biased. Of course we're biased, I know what I would choose for my children, and the pharmaceutical doctor knows what they would choose for their children, and that's all good. Anyone, just be pro-choice. Like, even the really intense anti-vax movers or the pro-vax movers, even they're really intense for me. I'm like, I'm just going to sit in the middle and be really pro-choice. So I think we all need to live there. And the reason why especially we need to live there, and what I'm going to put a little bit of emphasis on, is for the parents, for the mamas and dads as well. But, obviously I see a lot more women than men, but for the mamas who actually either have to vaccinate or they want to, but they also feel the shame of, like, now they're not going to be natural parents. We always think with this small group of people who homeopathically immunize or choose to do nothing and just do natural immunity, we always think that we're the ones, the minority, and we're copying it, and we're looked at really weirdly because we're living outside the box. Like, outside the box is so much more fun, by the way. But there's this group of parents out there, and everyone who's listening will know who you are, that you actually want to vaccinate, but you're just feeling judged, but you're worried that there is some stuff, and what do you do? And now if you vaccinate, that means you're not a natural parent. Of course, you're still a natural mama. You can still be part of the natural parenting Facebook groups. You can still go to all the homeopathic things. You can still listen to this podcast. It shouldn't matter which way you immunize your child. You do what feels right for you, because there's so much data out there. You can find out horrible things about vaccination and horrible things about how homeopathy doesn't work, and there's all these different, you can find whatever you want, really. At the end of the day, you just got to go with your gut. So for practitioners, if you're offering immunization discussions or immunization consultations, however you want to word them, make sure you're giving your patient all the options and let them make that decision. Don't ever push your method on someone, because that's what a lot of the pharmaceutical doctors, I shouldn't call them pharmaceutical doctors.
No, but I know what you're trying to say.
You know what I mean? That's what the doctors, the general doctors, Western medicine doctors are doing. They're saying you have to do this and there's nothing else you should do. And they're just scaring the crap out of these parents. Now, I could come in and say, well, actually, because I specialize, not only do I do a lot of work in homeoprophylaxis, I do a lot of work in vaccine injury. And I could tell you some scary stories there, but I never, ever will tell my young parents or older parents like myself, tell the parents these stories because it's just not nice. We're not here to scare our clients. We're here to give them all the information and then let them make that decision. Very informed. It's so empowering. And let me tell you, when a parent is, because normally they come from the doctors saying, you need to do this or, these terrible things will happen. And then they come to see us to get that second viewpoint, which I love that there's so many. And I'm saying younger because, and look, I'm 42, so younger could be like 30, you know what I mean? But I'm saying younger parents. But I'm seeing a lot younger parents, even in their 20s now, coming in and saying, we want to know our options. We don't even know what homeopathy is. But after what happened a few years ago, we're a little scarred and untrusting. And so now we want to know our options. So I always just say, just give them their options and let them walk away. And let me tell you, parents feel so good. And even though obviously as a homeopath, my dream is for everyone to homeopathically immunize and be covered. But that's not realistic. The same way not everyone's going to take, bryonia and Nux vomica for a headache. They want Panadol and Nurofen, So they're just, these different methods are just alternatives to each other. So on
Beautiful.
that,
I just love the non-judgmental place that you're coming from, because we have all had those clients that have come into us and have said that the doctor has just made them feel absolutely awful. And then and like you said, these mamas who, they're not exactly sure what to do, and we don't want to make anyone feel bad. And tell you what, guilt is a killer. If you are sitting there with guilt over what your choice is, it will eat you up from the inside. So yeah, it's beautiful that you're holding that space for your clients. And I really hope that a lot of us can take heart from that.
Yeah, we have to do it because it's like you don't want to go into that fear-mongering place. And, they're interesting consults, the immunization discussions, and, particularly prescribing and offering homeoprophylaxis. You need to be very confident in your knowledge on homeopathic immunization and on vaccination and on the diseases that they are treating and preventing. You need to be versed on it. Don't, buy my dad's book, by the way, if you want to. I should do a plug for Dad here.
It's like you're reading my mind.
Book.
I literally just wrote on my notes to make sure that I tell you to plug your dad's book, which maybe we should just do that now while we're here.
Oh, yes. Dad's book is Vaccination and Homeoprophylaxis, a review of the risk and alternatives.
Is this the new one that's come out?
Website. He's bringing out the revised one. So hopefully he'll be having a session with you sometime soon to go over all the fabulous new data, which is so exciting, and new methods and workings. So that's really exciting. So that's going to be coming out on Amazon, I think, soon. So hopefully that will coincide with an interview with, I've just dobbed him in now.
Yeah,
the
good.
interview with yourself. And so he could talk about that. But yes, he's still got all his other books. And he does have the Vaccine Damaged Children book. That is a book as well. And that's if you believe that, if you feel that your child is vaccine damaged, get that book and just read about it, see your homeopath and see what they can do to help, because there's a lot there. And there's a lot of tautopathy that works beautifully. I didn't talk about it in the last session.
Quick question. So the last session was the episode that Leah did last week. So there's tautopathy in that book as well.
Well, it's, vaccine damage potencies.
Well,
yeah. So it talks about the different. So yeah, that's tautopathy. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to mention the vaccine word in that episode.
Yeah. So
I'll keep it for this one, not to get in trouble.
But quick question while I forget. Yeah. So where can people buy your dad's books, by the way?
So the best thing to do is to jump onto his website, which is HomStudy, so HOMSTUDY.au. So the education is where I send a lot of clients if they're looking for information about homeoprophylaxis and different things. But he also has his publication section, and that's got all the different books. And there's smaller ones which are very simple. If you're like, okay, I got to get hubby to read this. He ain't going to read this big novel, but I've got a little one that he might read. And then, it's got your vaccine damage books, your vaccination and homeoprophylaxis, a risk of the review and alternative. So that's the big one that's got everything in it. And of course, for practitioners, make sure you get the practitioner manual of homeoprophylaxis.
Yes,
that
I've got that one.
teaches practitioners how to really administer it. And the reason why I still use Dad's protocols is because he's done 40 years of research on them. Yeah. So I'm not reinventing the wheel here. And it continues to evolve and he continues to fine tune it. And we will take things in and take things out. So, we took out diphtheria and put in RSV because it's just more relevant.
Makes way more sense.
That. And where's diphtheria? Like, let's hope she stays hidden. Actually, I'm going to make it a man. Let's hope he stays hidden. So, you've got to keep it up. So, yes, but that book's really good for all the homies out there going, oh, maybe I should do this. But as I was saying, make sure you do check all your things and cross all your T's or whatever that expression is, because there is a legal connotation with these discussions with homeoprophylaxis. They're okay with first aid and homeopathic prescribing, but anything that can go up against the man, against big pharma, even though there's a lot of research out there, it's been used for hundreds of years, homeoprophylaxis, but we're talking about an alternative to a very important pharmaceutical product, and they are not going to be very happy with that. So yes, just make sure that you're legally covered. AHA and I think even Arrow have forms that you can get parents to sign. If you're doing online consults, you can just send that through. And then just as long as you send it through, it's acknowledged that it's been signed, whether you get it signed or not. So just make sure if you're going to bring in homeoprophylaxis prescribing, have your insurance, be with an association in case you need that support, and make sure that you're, covering yourself, because it's not just a topic you don't want. And remember, never, ever sell them online. Never sell them online. It has to, you can sell your first aid kits online and your support blends and remedies. Never sell homeoprophylactic kits or programs online, because the TGA could investigate you. I think my dad's been investigated like 4 times and every time he's fine. Yeah. But that's over the last 40 years. But yes, there are people out there who do not like this method.
It's important that we mention it. There is actually a homeopath that was fined something like $100,000. I can't remember if 10,000 or 100,000. I have to go Google it now.
Let's say 100,000 to really scare everyone.
Because I do remember there was like a crowdfunding thing to try and, get the community to help her get the money to pay this fine. And then she had to put a big thing. I remember reading the judge's report afterwards. It had to be this dimension in red letters on her website for 3 months, saying that she did a naughty. So I am mentioning this because there are newer homeopaths who don't realize why some other homeopaths are more cautious, and they might think, oh, they're just old-fashioned or whatever. But it actually wasn't that long ago that a homeopath was fined a huge amount for publicly advertising homeoprophylaxis. So it's important that we mention this so that people know the place that we're coming from when we're talking about this, and so that they actually realize the importance of doing this in a very safe manner.
For the whole of homeopathy as well, because yes, that person could just get in trouble, but it's never just the individual practitioner. You've got to think of homeopaths as a whole profession in Australia, and we are under these TGA guidelines, and very simple ones too. There's not a lot. They're pretty simple. Yeah. We have to follow them, because it's not just yourself that is going to get in trouble, and you can have your website removed. You can have your TGA license taken off. You can be unable to practice or call yourself a homeopath, and all that years of study and work could be only over one simple thing of advertising kits. You can have your HB programs online, but you can't just have a add to cart option. It needs to be book a consult option. So that's what I do. So it's like yes, we can say that we have these available, so people are aware that that's what you do in your practice, but have it linked straight to your booking. Don't have it for sale. So, but it is really important. I think that's a really good point, because, when one person does something a little outside of the guidelines, it can really be damaging. And we know this from the NHMRC review. That was one, anyway, we won't go there, but that was a big slip up. That was very bad for homeopathy.
One kind of, major flow-on effect of that is that we cannot claim homeopathy from our private health insurance anymore from that one kind of, I mean, there's a bit more to it, but I just want people to understand the place that you're coming from when you say this. It's not just to be, fuddy-duddy or like old school or whatever. It is important. It's in the right. I'm
a very modern homeopath. I call my dad old school. I like to think I'm a very modern homeopath. And look, even the way I do my immunization, I'm going to get into how, just quickly, just so people can get an idea of how I discuss it with parents, because homeopaths do it very differently, and you can do it however you like. But I am so big on giving them all their options and letting them decide and take time to decide after. And so, but yes, no, I would say some people, like real purists, probably don't like the fact that I offer so much pre and post vaccine support. I'm not pushing the potential, damaging effects of vaccines. I don't even talk about that. I don't talk about vaccine damage at all. I just want to talk to parents about your options, and everyone's done enough research. So let me jump into how I say it. So I'm going to just do it very quickly. I'm not going to go into everything really specifically because that's what a consult is. So, find a practitioner. If you're a parent listening and going, oh, this is so exciting, I want to know all my options. Find a practitioner who specializes in it. I know you do a lot of work. There's a lot of practitioners. Just jump in. But yes, you're right. A lot of the younger ones coming up, or the ones who haven't done very big courses or haven't done degrees and diplomas and things like that, they might not be practicing. So make sure you always ask someone who's experienced in it. And I love that majority of homeopaths in Australia use our protocol. And I'm saying our protocol now. I'm jumping in on that inheritance.
You're allowed to.
I have been talking about homeoprophylaxis for so long that I am now saying our protocol.
Well, how proud would you be if your two kiddies, if they ever became homeopaths and they said, our protocol? I mean, you would be so proud, right?
That would be, I'm thinking of my kids going, which one would be a homeopath? I'm not sure. But that would be amazing.
Yeah, and I know that your dad would be the same.
And a lot of homeopaths use his protocol, and they should, rightly so, because one, he really encourages people to do it because there's so much research behind it. We want to know it's going to work, basically, because his name is so attached to homeoprophylaxis that he's like, okay, well, everyone has to use my protocol because I've done 40 years of research and I know that the effectiveness is sitting around 90% and above. And so that's why you've got to use it. So I would love to go through how I say it just simply. So essentially the way I see it, and this is just how I see it, other people might add different things in here, but how I see it is you have 4 options when it comes to immunization. There is natural immunity, pre and post vaccine support, homeoprophylaxis, and then the combination of both of them, the combination of homeoprophylaxis and pre and post vaccine support. And I do really make sure when I'm talking about immunization, I say vaccination or homeopathic immunization. You could say homeoprophylaxis, but it just makes it easier for people to say vaccination and homeopathic immunization. They're the 2 forms of immunization. I don't call vaccines immunizations.
I never do
I call them vaccines. Yeah, it's really important.
Yeah,
and
because
if clients start saying homeopathic vaccines, pull them up very quickly because there's no such thing.
That's something that I feel very strongly about because words are powerful. And if you are saying immunization, you are kind of inferring the fact that that thing that you're doing is creating immunity when it's not in a lot of cases. In some cases, the percentage can be very low. So it is important that we call it the correct term.
Yeah, we need to. And look, sometimes it works in your favor because if people say, if you ever have to go to the doctors, this is probably a bit cheeky. Don't copy what I'm going to say. Oh, no, maybe you can. When you go to the doctors and they're like, oh, your children up to date with their immunizations. I'm like, yeah, of course.
I always say yes. They have natural I don't
because
say
I'm not lying.
I'm not either. My kids have natural immunity. So, yes, their immunization.
Immunized.
So
it is nice to feel that way too, going, yes, I've done all their immunizations. Now, yes, I use the homeoprophylatic method.
You didn't ask which one.
Yes, you didn't
I do exactly
specify.
The same. Exactly.
Yeah. And it's nice to do that and know that you have done a form of immunization. Just because someone says something doesn't work or it isn't what they like, that doesn't mean it doesn't work. That doesn't mean you can't choose it. Just because someone's saying, oh, we don't think that this works. I'm like, yes, it does. If there's research to back it up, then why? Who's telling me it doesn't work? I'll show you paper after paper after paper of how it does work. So
there was just a huge conference in Greece with a Homeopathic Research Institute, massive. All these scientists from around the world went to the Homeopathic Research Institute conference, which they have every 2 years.
I would have loved to
presenting the most incredible research that's done around the world by physicists and scientists and biologists.
They're amazing.
Yeah, amazing.
They're so amazing. I love those guys. I know I was looking at that. I was like, how can my husband look after the kids for a few weeks? Will they survive?
Next one, Leiah. We'll have to go to the next one.
Okay, it's a deal. We're doing it while we write our books on the way up.
And everything else we have to do.
Yes, I'm right. So yes, going through the 4 options. So natural immunity. Now, I put this one in. I actually do put this one in. I don't go very into it, but I do put it in because natural immunity is just letting the body build its natural immunity without any forms of immunization. So without vaccinating or homeopathically immunizing in advance. So doing it in a prophylactic way. But in the way I do natural immunity with my parents, and it's usually only ever like chiropractors or kinesiologists or acupuncturists, it's practitioners are like, no, I'm already doing so much. I just don't even need it. And also a lot of practitioners who are versed in disease aren't actually that worried about those diseases because, that we understand them so much better. So, but with that method of natural immunity, I still get the parents to call me and purchase a homeopathic immunization remedy if there's an outbreak. So it doesn't mean you're not vaccinating or you're not homeopathically immunizing. It means that you're not doing it prophylactically. You're doing it when there's an outbreak, which is essentially what adults do. So it's what we do now as adults. It's only as young children when they're very susceptible that we do the prophylactically, either the homeopathic immunization or the vaccination. But some parents will go, you know what, I don't really want to do anything. I just want to build their immune system naturally with nutrition and good health and skin-to-skin contact and pets everywhere and sunshine, all those fun, free things.
Do you know what? Maybe it's worth saying what prophylaxis the word is, because I remember Googling it, maybe I wasn't Googling it, but I remember reading that iodine is added prophylactically to salt many years ago. And I was like, what does prophylactic mean? And I had to Google it.
Yeah.
To be fair, English is my second language, so I can use that excuse. But I just remember not knowing what the word prophylaxis
I should Google it too.
Yeah.
So the way I interpret it, and I will definitely going to Google it to hear what they say after this. The way I interpret it is just giving something preventatively to give a better health outcome. So we say homeoprophylaxis is homeopathic prevention.
Yeah.
But giving something prophylactically is, just giving it to them to try and, in our terms, raise their immunity or raise their vital force. And if raising a vital force will raise an immunity. So so the first option of natural immunity, it's an interesting option, and people should know, because it doesn't mean you don't take any homeopathic immunizations or do any vaccinations. It just means you do them when there's something there. And so going with that, that's what we do with a lot of travel. So if people are heading to Bali, I'll be like, make sure you take your Giardia, Giardia 1M. I would not go anywhere to India or Asia without it. And maybe dengue fever. And some people are like, no, I want to take all of them, rabies and typhoid and Hep A. Try to keep it at at least 5 or 6. You don't want to be, because you're going to take them every second day and that leading up to your trip. So definitely, keep people, don't let them go too crazy. But essentially, on a legal note, it's not our jobs to advise what diseases to cover. When people are traveling or when people are, doing stuff, we can only guide them. So get them to do the homework, give you the big list, then guide them through it. So yes, natural immunity, it's a great way to do it. But for parents who are like, no, I want to do something prophylactically, I want to give my little ones, and I definitely think there is diseases worth preventing against in Australia, around the world. And some of them are very prevalent and not so bad, so things like, now, obviously in little tiny children or babies, newborns, or very susceptible people with a high susceptibility or sensitivity or pathophysiology, disease process going on, any disease can be quite dangerous. But in terms of just your general things like RSV and whooping cough and rotavirus and measles, they're not the most life-threatening diseases out there in a healthy infant or a healthy child, but they're a lot more prevalent. So let's clear out that inherent susceptibility, or let's give those antibodies and protect. Then you've got the more nasty ones like tetanus and meningococcal. But luckily, we live in a first world country, so we're very lucky, and they're not as prevalent. It's almost bad luck to be infected by those diseases now. And maybe it's got to do with vaccinations or homeopathic immunizations, but it's probably just also, we're a first world country. We have good hygiene. We have amazing food. Our problem is too much food. It's not like not enough food. So there are some diseases that you'll see in our program that are not as dangerous, but we just still want to cover them when the children are very little, because that's when they're dangerous. And as they get older, we then move to the more severe ones. So yes, second option, and these are in no particular order, by the way. Second option, I'll just go into let's go to pre and post vaccine support. So I love offering this to parents who are going to vaccinate, or in some cases have to vaccinate. But either way, if you have to get your little one into kinder or daycare, or you just want to use this method, there is a really good way to do it. And in a very simple way, we do a week before, we will do supplementation, and a week after. So a week before the injection and a week after the injection, we do supplementation. So I do very simple, and we're talking about giving them to babies, and sometimes they're 6 weeks old. So, I would never normally give a baby supplements, but if I'm about to vaccinate them, well, I'm going to, because I just want to minimize any risk of toxicity and damage in case they're sensitive to an ingredient in that vaccine. And so I just do the very basics, like a probiotic, an omega oil, a buffered C. So not you can't give ascorbic acid to a little one, but you can give a calcium ascorbate. And then I actually have a homeopathic, what we call immune support blends, which is just like very low potencies, like 6 Cs of echinacea, andrographis reishi, all those like fabulous herbs.
We just it always blows my mind how similar. I have that at like a low potency leading up.
Yes.
Echinacea. Actually, I've got zinc in there, zinc and metallicum 6C.
Nice.
There's
so many good ones.
Yeah. So
you can do, and you just need to keep it simple. Like it doesn't just have it and be intuitive. Think there's so many great herbs and things out there. What's going to be good? Because little babies aren't going to drink herbs. So with the supplements, obviously, if you can mix them into formula, that makes it very easy for babies who are on formula. You're just putting a little bit in. And obviously, your practitioner will give you all the instructions of how much. You don't need a lot. It's tiny amounts. It's just to stimulate their immune system. The omegas are very anti-inflammatory, protective of the brain and nervous system. The gut needs some support. Obviously, the probiotic's good. And our immune support drops, as we were talking about, that just really helps to stimulate the vital force in the immune system. So if you can get them into formula, great. But for breastfeeding mamas, you got to express a little bit. Like, it is what it is. It's annoying, like on the machine. We all know what it's like. But express a little bit. Put your supplements in there. Give it a shake. Give your baby a little bit, like give them some of that mixture, and then latch them for a full feed. Because they'll drink it and be like, ew, what is this? And then be us tricking, and then pop them on for a full feed. So that's a good way to get them in. For mums who are just struggling, and the babies are like, I'm not having any of this, and I'm not having a bottle, I want the boob, you can just take the supplements yourself. I would prefer baby to get that full dose themselves. But in a lot of cases, particularly if we're vaccinating little 6-week-old babies, then you might need to look at actually taking the supplements yourself. But yes, we do good supplementation a week before and a week after. And that really looks after the physical body. And then we look up to the energetic body, the vital force, by doing tautopathy, giving homeopathic potencies of the vaccine that we're giving. And I say that we're giving because there's 3 parts to pre and post vaccine support. It's the supplementation, it's giving the homeopathic remedies, but it's also seeing if the parents can space them out. I just like to see if I can give one vaccine at a time. Now, I don't mean split the vaccine, because splitting a vaccine means you're now going to have 7 vaccines. Like, that's way too much injections. I mean, just space out the vaccines. And even if you space them out a couple of months apart from each other, you can still follow the normal schedule and get your rebates and get your little one into daycare and kinder. Yeah, but I love to try and space them out for a couple of reasons. One, I just think logically it makes sense. And I say logically, like I do have a degree of health science, so like there is some education there. But I think you don't have to have a degree to work that out. So when you get vaccinated, you produce antibodies. Antibody production is very tiring. It takes a bit of work from the immune system, right, to produce antibody. It's our last line of defense. Our first line is that beautiful barrier response, like having all that bacteria and saliva and nasal, all the things that stop it coming through, signals off our second line of defense, which is like our innate immune system. So us being sick, snot, coughing, diarrhea, fevers to sweat it out, all these beautiful responses. I say beautiful, like people are like, I don't want to be sick, but really they're amazing. It's your body going, we got a pathogen in here, let's get it out. And it's going to look gross. And you're not meant to go out in public with it for a reason. So I'm going to keep you home, but I'm going to clear it out. If that pathogen is too strong, or it's just a really intense pathogen, or you're very inherent susceptible, if you're very susceptible to it, your body then goes to the last line of defense, which is antibody production. And it needs to take these dormant cells or stem cells, use a lot of ATP or body energy to turn them into antibodies, and they'll attach to the antigen and then move them out. So by the time you get to that spot, it's very tiring. So our body doesn't want to just produce antibodies to every single disease. Look how many things we come across. If you're not very susceptible, energetically susceptible, you might not produce antibodies. So yes, when we're vaccinating, you've got to think the body's going to produce antibodies. So let's just let it do it slowly if we can. And from a practitioner viewpoint, if your child still reacts beyond that 2 weeks of giving the other week of the supplement after the vaccine and the 2 weeks of giving the homeopathic, because I normally give a 30C within an hour of the vaccine or somewhere within the hour of the vaccine, wait a day or so, then do it twice a week for 2 weeks. If they still react beyond that, you need to call your practitioner. You need to call me very quickly or email me, and then I will send you out a 200, a 1M, a 10M, and usually a 50M. And I will clear that whole vaccine reaction out until that child is back into health, back to their happy, bubbly selves. And so
can I add something in there as
for
well?
us to know. Yeah, please.
I love that you said about spreading them out, like not splitting the vaccines, not that you can in Australia anyway, but spreading them out because, you know, at 6 weeks, 4 months, and 6 months, they get Infanrix, Hexaprevinar, and rotavirus. So that is 8 diseases that they're getting vaccinated for at the same time. Now, in nature, you would never get exposed to 6 diseases at the same time. So the analogy that I use, because I, a few years ago, created this little homeopathic immunization course, just like a little 2-hour course based on your dad's work. And when I did that, I emailed him and I said, do you mind if I do this? And of course, your dad said, no, go for it. Just like, be prepared for skeptics attacking you. And I'm like, that's okay. I used to be
That's why we did the big legal disclaimer at the start of this talk.
But your dad was
so
like, I reached out to him and I said, is it okay if I do this? It's basically your book that I'm putting into a little course. And he's like, yeah, go for it. But in this course, the analogy that I gave is the only way you will expose to 8 diseases at the same time is if you are like in a hospital, like emergent or like the diseases section of a hospital, and you go into an elevator, and at the same time, these people go into the elevator with you. And then between the lot of them, they have pertussis and diphtheria and hepatitis and rotavirus. So they are literally coughing, spitting, bleeding, and salivating on you. And as the doors open in the elevator open and you run out to get away from them, you step on a rusty nail and then you get tetanus. So that's like literally the only way that you're going to get exposed to 8 diseases at the same time. So it's actually, from a practical point of view, it's just not natural, and it's completely overwhelming their tiny little immune system, and they can't seroconvert until they're 9 months old anyway. So anything that you're injecting them with up until 9 months is a moot point because their immune system is not mature enough to know what to do with it, because nature in her wisdom decided that breast milk is the ultimate. And I know everyone's not able to, but I'm just saying that's how nature in her infinite wisdom designed us, that you will be getting your immunity from your mother's milk. So you can spend your energy growing and all those sorts of things. You don't have to stress about building an immune system right now. Put your energy, little body, into growing and doing these other things. Your mummy's immune system, the breast milk will look after you.
It's so true. And that's where natural immunity is good. That's for a lot of parents I do have parents who say, I don't really want to do anything, but I feel like I should. And I say, well, you don't have to, but know that it's available if you need it. So know if there's a big outbreak or someone comes in and the cousin coughs all over you, and then you get the phone call the next night, oh my God, they got whooping cough. You're like, oh, I'm just going to call my homeopath and get the nosode for that. And then you can immunize everyone, homeopathically immunize. Or if you're more pharmaceutical minded, you could vaccinate. We can do the pre and post. But, you know, going back to that story of like what it is really like in reality, which I love, it's like so extreme in that story. And that's a really bad day for someone. They've had a bad day. They go in to fix like a sore toe and they come out with 8 diseases. But wouldn't you have loved to have that preparation? Imagine if you have a day like that, if you had a week of supplementation and immune support before and a week after, and all of the remedies to clear. So that's what pre and post vaccine support is like. It's like prepping the body. So when it makes all these antibodies, we're like, we got you, babe. Like, we're already here. The immune system's like, you're giving me all this vitamin C. Like, what is this about? And then it's like, oh, now we get it. And so it's going to help you. So yeah, pre and post vaccine support's so good. It is so much easier to prevent vaccine damage than to cure it. And so that is why I put it out there. It's not that, like, obviously I love homeoprophylaxis. I am homeopathically immunized. My children are. I would dare say their children would be. My animals are. I even immunize my trees. That's a whole other conversation. So against sort of different diseases. So I love it. But for people who want to vaccinate, doing this pre and post support is just so important. And because I see so many vaccine damaged kitties, and it's life-changing for some of those people. It's not always just a rash or an allergy or eczema or, things like this. It can be life-changing. And so, yeah, and very sad and very difficult for the whole family. So we can prevent that, people. So let's just tell anyone, like send them this podcast, just tell them anyone. You can't, oh my God, never go to someone and say, you shouldn't vaccinate. That is the word, unless you're in the mood for a fight, or an argument. You should never say that to anyone or like tell them all your horror stories. But you can say, there's different options. You can tell them about pre and post vaccine support. If you see a relative or a friend and their child's reacting really bad, and parents will often say to other parents, oh, they've been so sick since then, and they'll even go to the doctors and they're saying, oh, they haven't really been speaking, or they've gone off their food, or they're having a high-pitched scream every night since that vaccine. And the doctors say, oh, it's just a reaction, it's normal. If you ever hear that, let them know that you're not telling them not to vaccinate. No one should ever tell someone not to vaccinate. What they should do is say, hey, why don't you look at having an immunization discussion or a consult with someone, a naturopath or a homeopath who uses this, but why don't you look at doing some support before and after and a little bit of clearing? And I know that the homeopathic potencies of these vaccines can really work beautifully prophylactically. Even though we're taking it after the vaccine, we're doing it in a prophylactic manner because we're preventing any damage. So the body, if there is an ingredient in that vaccine that your body is having an adverse reaction to, no different to a penicillin, no different to a Panadol if you're allergic to different pharmaceutical drugs. And remember, it's not the little tiny amount of pathogenic material that they're usually reacting. It's the heavy metals, it's the chemicals, it's the toxins, it's the preserves. If they're having a reaction, we can just move that out and use that remedy to sort of clear it out before it becomes really disruptive to the vital force. And remember, when the vital force gets disrupted, the physical body will soon follow. So yes, pre and post vaccine support, such a great thing to do if you're going to vaccinate.
Anybody who's listening to Leiah and go, wow, she's sounding really confident about this, I can just tell you that I have exactly the same experience in my clinic where I am so confident when I'm preparing somebody's body before a vaccine or clearing vaccine injury that us homeopaths have incredible results in this field. I just wish more people knew about it because often they don't think they have any options, but we have so many options. And that's one of the things that with this podcast, I want people to know that you have options with homeopathy. It doesn't matter what your choice is. So just so that people know that, that there are options. So
and it doesn't matter what condition it is either. What health concern, whether it's mental, physical, immunization, there's options for everything. Yeah.
Incredible.
And you're amazing for putting the podcast out because you're putting it out there, babe. You're getting it out there to the world.
Oh, well, you're sharing this information. And that's the thing. Like, the podcast is top 1% in the world now. And I asked Siri the other day, how many podcasts are there in the world? And she said 3 million something and something. And I'm like, what's 1% of that? And she's like 30,000 and something. And she's like, so I'm like, oh, it's in the top 30,000 of all the podcasts on the planet. That's not what it's about, though. But you sharing this information is so incredible because I know that this is giving hope to people because I get emails from around the world of people saying, I listened to that podcast with Leiah or with this person, go, I didn't know that was an option. I just want people to know there is an option. Whatever you decide to do, try us. Try us. Like, give us a try. Whatever
this is why we
try
do
your
the
wildest
discussion.
thing as us. We will have something for it.
Yes. Yeah. And this is why we do it as a discussion. And I think it's important we give all your options, not just talking about what homeoprophylaxis is. And look, to be fair, before the legislation changed about 10 years ago to the no jab, no play and no jab, no pay in Australia, that was about maybe nine years ago. Dad and I only did homeoprophylaxis because no one would come to us for pre and post vaccine support because you could be a conscientious objector. As soon as that changed, our whole scale tipped, and I would say 60% of my clients are still homeopathically immunizing, and now 40% I do pre and post vaccine support. And I do it also not just for babies, I do it for people studying nursing who need to go, people who are traveling, people who are, elderly wanting to get the shingles injection, wanting to get the flu jab and all these things. So I do it for all ages and it works beautifully for everyone. And there's still a small group of children. I have only a handful though, and that's like in 10 years. So I do a lot of these conversations. As you can tell, I get so excited every time talking about it because even though you're saying similar content, every parent is different. Every baby is different. And oh my God, please bring your babies into my clinic. I'm not having any more kids. Like shop is shut. So I'm like, bring them in. Maybe don't bring your 3-year-olds, but definitely bring in your babies. No, I'm joking. Bring them all in. But yeah, there's nothing better than seeing a little newbie. You're like, so sweet. So yes, I will say that I still have had a couple of kitties react even when on the pre and post vaccine support. It's very rare. Like I literally have had like maybe 4 or 5 in the 10 years of doing pre and post vaccine support for parents. And they were just super susceptible kitties. And it didn't matter that we did the week before and the week after. But I will very happily say that the parents got straight back to me and we sent out 200C of 1M. I actually went 10M and 50M. And we just very quickly, like every second day, ascended up and cleared them out, and the reaction stopped very quickly. So some kitties still can, but essentially it's a beautiful method that works really well, nearly like 99% of the time.
If your child, which apparently 50% of the population has, if your child has the MTHFR gene mutation, they are at a higher risk because it's harder for their body to methylate or to detox. So there is that as well. I've got a couple of things that I want to quickly throw in as well. One is on my pre-protocol, I get clients to do a bentonite clay paste. So I get them to take some bentonite clay with a little bit of water, just mix it into a thick paste, and then just put it in like a little plastic container, take it with you. The second after they've injected, put the paste on the arm and then a plaster over it. And I have had adults, and this was especially after we've talked about vaccines, so I might as well say COVID. We're not going to put this episode on YouTube anyway.
If it's going to get cut out, why not just say it all?
I've had clients say to me that they did that protocol where I got them to put the bentonite clay on, and they actually felt this is clients' word. This is what people have told me. So I'm not saying this. This client said to me, they felt like the poison came back up their arm and out through the bentonite. That was the sensation that they had of that happen.
I wonder if it changed color too. I wonder if it went like really black and murky.
Some clients say that they're a bit shy to do that. So, I mean, you could probably even do like a charcoal and bentonite clay paste. I usually just tell clients to use bentonite. And then I say because some people are non-confrontational, so they don't want to do it in front of the doctor. But I say, leave it in the car. The second you get on the car, put it on, and no paracetamol. If you are going to be vaccinating your child,
good point.
It massively depletes glutathione, which is a huge antioxidant to help the body detox. If you are giving paracetamol, which is often the advice that doctors give, they'll say give paracetamol before you come in so the child doesn't feel the pain.
Wow.
But actually it massively depletes glutathione, and then you are more at a risk of a reaction. So rather use your homeopathic Leadum, whatever, for, the pain. If you're breastfeeding the baby while they're doing the injection, hopefully that will help, relieve the pain as well. But there are kind of ways around it. Something else I want to say is
very good advice.
It's nobody else's choice except for yours, because you are the one that's going to take the responsibility. If your child is not vaccinated and they get measles, you are the one that's going to have to take a week off work to care for that child and not get paid and lose your income. But if your child has a reaction to the MMR vaccine, you are also not going to be the one that's going to take time off work and care for that child potentially for life. So either way, it's your choice, nobody else's. Don't let auntie, whoever, make you feel guilty. Don't let grandma don't let the doctor or the nurse or anyone make you feel guilty, because they are not the ones that's going to look after your kid when they get sick either way.
And don't let your homeopath make you feel guilty.
Especially not your homeopath. That should be your save. Yeah.
We're on your side.
I want to share a story with you as well, that I have only had good results, but you do a lot more of it than I do. Like, I don't do that much of it. So for you to have only had like a handful over 10 years is amazing.
Yeah.
I had really good reactions throughout, except for one, which was this lady who is a like a natural healthcare professional herself, and she has twins. And so she knows all about it. She educates her clients on, the risks of vaccination, but she had to, because she was a single mom with these twin children who had to go to work. So she took them in for the first time when they were about 13 months old. And she said, I'm just going to get the DTP, because past 6 months you don't have to get rotavirus anymore. So she's just going to get the Infinrix Hexa and Prevnar were the ones that she had to do to get on the catch-up schedule. And I said to her, okay, well, I'm going to give you the tautopathic remedies for that to give beforehand and do all that support. And then I heard from her like a couple of weeks later, and I'm like, oh, how did it go? And she's like, both boys ended up in hospital. They ended up swelling up the size of like blueberries, like in what's Charlie in the Chocolate Factory? They swelled up massively. They were in hospital on life support. And, the hospital's answer to that was that when they had to come back in a month's time for their follow-ups, it had to be done in hospital so that when they have a reaction like this again. That's not the point. to me, it was very strange because I had never had somebody had a reaction when I've done this protocol before. And I said to her, what vaccines did they give them? Because you told me that they're going to do infant sex. And then she said, no, because they were 12 months old, they decided to give MMR as well. So they gave MMR. I didn't give her the remedies because it wasn't. And she said, well, we were just on the spot and they just said, we're going to give this as well. So I said, yes.
So they gave them all in one day. Yeah.
All in one day. And I swear, if I had given her the tautopath MMR remedy, I don't think that would have been as bad.
I 100% agree with that.
It might have been a reaction of some sort, but they wouldn't have ended up on like life support.
Not
both children. Both children.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of twins have big reactions, and I think often because remember twins are a lot smaller. You don't want two 9.5-pound babies in, like mine were both 9.5-pounders, like giant babies. And I was like, you guys could not have been twins. You would have had to come out a lot smaller. So naturally, never think of preemie babies and twins who naturally come out a lot smaller as maybe being ready to have the vaccination at 6 weeks. They might need to go to that, a little bit later. And once again, it's your choice, but I would really think about that because you got this teeny tiny little, 6 pound or 5, and then a 9.5. It's like very big, very different in the body. And yes, methylation and that. Yeah, how interesting. I reckon if you had the MMR 30C or so,
it would have been it would have been interesting. But I just remember being flabbergasted, and I'm like, I've never had this happen. This is strange. And then I thought to ask her, and I was like, hang on, which ones did they get? And that's when they said, but us as homeopaths, we're really good at asking questions, and we're really good at it. If something is not adding up, like going, okay, what is it? Because anyway.
And
that was
one
fascinating.
thing, before I go to homeoprophylaxis, and I'm not going to go right into it because I know Dad's talked about it, and there's probably a few podcasts that could go into it. I have my own, we all say it explain it in our own way, but I want to, quickly go into it. But the last thing I want to say, going on that point, one thing I do say to parents who are, say they're starting a bit later or they're doing it, make it very simple for the doctors. Don't go in there and make it difficult. So I actually get them to go to the doctors, get their catch-up schedule of where they're at, what they need to get done. Then I get them to make a little Word doc or an Excel spreadsheet and cut and paste every individual vaccine in. So they all have their own little row, and then write down the age that you want to vaccinate your child. That way you staple that into your green book or your red book if you're in, I think, New South Wales, Queensland. You staple it in next to the actual chart, and when you get your vaccine, you're like, okay, I'm only doing this one today. Double check it. Make sure that's it. You sign and date your chart, and then you get them to put their little sticker or stamp on the green book.
And
that way it keeps it very simple. And you know me, I'm a girl of protocols and charts. I have a chart for everything. So I think it's the Capricorn in me. And so, yes, that's really important. So I usually for clients will have like an example template. And I mean, I'm such a Word doc girl. I'm not like a Mac girl. And so I will just have some rows and some columns, put the name of the disease, the name of the vaccine, the name of the homeopathic detox remedy so that they know what they're taking, and then the date and age. And then it just make it so simple. So keep it simple for yourself, but keep it simple for the nurses. And look, they might not like that you're doing it one at a time, but they're happy to just vaccinate your child. So they're doing, they want to protect your child too. So you just go in there and say, this is how we're doing it, and you just be confident. So yes, that is such a great method though. So going on to homeoprophylaxis, obviously, this is my bias coming out. It's amazing. It's been around for hundreds of years, and there's so much research from around the world. Obviously, my dad is the world authority. I was like, that I'm going to get that one day. I want that title. No, it's such a good title. World Authority.
Yeah.
Is that the best? I'm like, wow, that's such a good thing. And so he's done so many years of research, but it's done around the world. Homeopathic immunization is used in the millions overseas. So in places like India, where their government funds homeopathic and they really support it, and it's actually a primary medicine. Here, we're more allied health. So we're supportive, but in a lot of countries, homeopathy is primary medicine. And so homeoprophylaxis is not some little thing, and not something that some people are like, oh, is that what your dad came up with? I'm like, he wishes he came up with that. I'm like, Hahnemann was using remedy prophylactically hundreds of years ago, and it's now, obviously he was at the beginning just using like belladonna and things like that, and China and stuff, but now very quickly it transgressed to nosodes, so giving potencies. So yes, homeopathic immunization or homeoprophylaxis very simply is giving a potency of that disease that that targeted disease that we're intending to prevent. And we do that in the way it works in a very simple way that it works. There's whole books written on how it works, but how I sort of explain it is if you have an inherent susceptibility to a disease or to anything in that matter, it lies on the energetic body. There isn't a blood test to see if you're allergic to shellfish and peanuts and, marshmallows and penicillin and the MMR vaccine. No one knows that, but it lies there energetically. It's what we're born with. It's what our genetics have sort of passed through from great grandmother and so on. And so we have these inherent susceptibilities. And if you have an inherent susceptibility, you are the person who is going to react very strongly to that specific stressor, and in this case, that disease. So not everyone, you could have 20 little babies in a room and they all get coughed on. Not all of them are going to get whooping cough. Not all of them are going to need hospitalization. Some are going to get a little tickle. Some are going to be really unwell for months. So it all depends on our inherent susceptibility. Yes, there is some physical things as in what's our nutritional status, how's our immune system, but really it lies on a very energetic level, that weakness. So by giving homeopathic potencies of these diseases, because of the law of similars, of like cures like, and the law of minimum dose, and because of that law of similars, the other aspect to that no two similar forces can coexist in the body. Thank God, right? Otherwise it'd be a bad day. Be like you're like in the hospital
visit.
Like in the hospital visit. They just don't. The stronger force will always clear out the lesser. It happens in nature with the sun, like the sun coming in. I was like, Melbourne's got sun, yay. The sun and the moon, and it happens with smells. It happens with any force. But within our physical body, if there is a sort of weaker force and the vital force then feels a stronger force coming in. So whether that's the actual disease, whether that's the homeopathic potency or frequency of the disease, it doesn't know that it's a homeopathic. It feels a frequency. It's like, oh my God, pertussis is coming, a whooping cough's coming. Let's mount up an immune response, a natural one, a gentle one, clear out this sort of weakness, this inherent susceptibility. And then we give the remedy while that sort of very gentle nudge on the immune system is happening. But when we stop dosing, it dissipates, the energy dissipates, but you are left in a higher state of immunity and you're no longer susceptible. And so it's so simple, right? Does that sound simple? I feel like that's
simple.
Oh, good.
I think
I was like, is that confusing or simple?
No, I'm trying to think who it was. And because I always like to credit people who've done things that have influenced my life or that really sticks in my mind. But I actually think it was Cilla Walcott that did this, or Wilcott, that did this.
Oh, Wilcott, yeah.
Yes. Her saying was homeoprophylaxis is like an energetic blueprint. So you're giving your body that energetic blueprint so that when it does encounter the actual disease, it has already kind of familiarized itself with that energy so it knows, what to do with it. And so I love that idea of an energetic blueprint.
Yeah, coming in. And I really just feel like it shifts it out. And that's why you can take it more frequently when there's a lot of exposure. So obviously if there's, over winter, we do what we call it the viral protection. And every year, and I do use my dad's blend. I was like, can I have your blended? And so it's a blend. So there is it has some GE, so genus epidemicus remedies of like the remedy for people who aren't homeopaths. GE or genus epidemicus is that remedy that best matches the current virus that's going around. So obviously in COVID time, there was we could kind of see this picture. And so there was a few remedies that matched that beautifully. So we have some GE remedies, and then we have remedies like your influenza and your RSV and COVID, putting that in there. And so it's remedies, and we get that once a fortnight over winter. So that's different to our long-term prophylaxis, homeoprophylaxis that we give babies. Babies, we do it very systematically. We'll do the whooping cough, we do the RSV, we do the rotavirus at the beginning. We go through most of the remedies, and every practitioner's schedule will be a little bit different and tailored, but we will go through them. But it's always good to remember that in an outbreak, you need to use those remedies more often, because if the body's getting exposed to it, if it's in that incubation period, and then that's now the stronger disease by taking that remedy a bit more frequently. So I only mean like twice a week for a couple of weeks. And then if you haven't developed the disease in a couple of weeks, you're probably not going to, but it can definitely clear it at the time of incubation. So you could be symptom free, because no form of immunization, whether it's vaccination or homeoprophylaxis, can stop you getting diseases. Because if you get overexposed to a disease, you're going to get it. The body needs to shed and clear that pathogen out. We're only doing immunization and homeoprophylaxis to make it a much more simple, easier transition out. So instead of being sick for months or being hospitalized, you're sick for a week and you're better. So
I want to add a couple of things in there as well. One is that there are in the medical literature, you can go on PubMed and you can go do some searches on there, recorded cases of cancer being cured by measles. So people who had cancer contracted a case of measles, and the measles actually cured them from cancer because it's a stronger force. It is absolutely.
It's amazing.
And so, this of the no two forces kind of like staying in the body at the same time, the one will kind of overpower the other, which I think that is just absolutely fascinating. The other thing with Genus Epidemicus is I feel like today, chatting with you, I feel it's like gratitude day. I feel I just want to acknowledge a few things. And so one of them is when COVID started, before we had the nosode, your dad Isaac Golden created a Genus Epidemicus with a variety of remedies. It was Bryonia, I think Eupatorium, tuberculinum, Gelsemium, I think.
Yeah.
And we had to give it like a code because, we couldn't. I think it was like C ends.
I can't even remember them all. All these codes.
Was it? IG, something or other code.
Yeah.
That we had to order from the pharmacy.
IG, that's very obvious.
It was. That we had to order from the pharmacies. And, it's actually unbelievable because your dad created this by looking at the symptoms that were around him, and he gave this combination to the pharmacy, and the pharmacy then sold it to all of us, and we sold it to our clients. So we all made money on it all along the way from his free gift of using his knowledge and his years of experience to give us this gift, which I cannot tell you. I keep wishing that I just take screenshots of all the messages that clients send me when the remedies help them. And I keep thinking one day I'm going to do that. I'm going to take screenshots and organize it in a folder, because it's important that we acknowledge the people that are doing this work. And there are so many homeopaths doing incredible work that don't get the acknowledgement. But isn't it unbelievable looking back 5 years now, like when your dad created this remedy, how many tens of thousands of people that remedy helped that nobody, he'll never get the acknowledgement for that from all the tens of thousands of people he helped. And all of us had made money from that because the pharmacy sold that remedy. I sold his remedy, and it helped so many clients. And that was before we had the nosode. But even after having the nosode, I still used this remedy when we had COVID as well. I found it was great with treating the symptoms.
And we're still putting COVID in our current immunization because there's a lot around. Similar enough. When no one's testing anymore, but we know it's similar enough.
It's mutated. It's just turned into some weird, I don't know, but
And that's the beauty of the law of similars when it doesn't have to be the same strain like a vaccine. With homeoprophylaxis, it just has to be similar, has to have a similar energy, because the same way we have a vital force, everything on the planet has a vital force. Diseases have a vital force. Vaccines have their own vital force, if you like. And so they can disrupt ours. So yes, by bringing it in, I love the blueprint concept as well, but by bringing it in and clearing out that in any inherent susceptibilities to that thing, all it's going to do is make way for your natural immune system to rise up and work and do what it does very simply, which is rise up. So as long as you're giving the physical body a lot of good nutrition, going in and then doing these gentle clearings. Now, as you know, some homeopaths don't always agree with homeoprophylaxis. They're like, why are you giving a certain one in Greece in particular? My dad has had a few moments with, because I don't think everyone thinks that you should be giving all these nosodes to very small children if we don't know if there is any susceptibility. Should we be giving it? Now, the blueprint concept is great. It says, yes, just do it. And Hahnemann always said, you should just take a dose of every remedy. So I don't think he was excluding the nosodes. And so really it's about going, firstly, what are our other options? We might not like the other options for immunization, but I just really see from all my years of doing this and from myself being homeopathically immunized and my children, it's a really good general immune booster because it's similar. So it might not be just taking out that whooping cough strain, specifically. It could be taking out just a respiratory weakness. Could be taking out a tubercular weakness, So I think it's amazing. And so I want to go on to the last method. So this is a big method that a lot of most of the clients who do pre and post vaccine support actually do this last and final method that I offer. Some just come straight in and say, okay, I'm ready to vaccinate. Let's do it. And we make up their template and we space them out and it's lots of fun. And then we get them prepped up and then they're like, we're doing it. Some of them chicken out halftime and say, okay, I can't do it. Give me the homeopathic immunization. But a lot of them are very happy with that. The last option is what a lot of parents really like. It's also a good compromise for parents who are on the other side of the page. Don't think that immunization discussions, I make it sound like really like, oh, it's so fun and empowering. It's not always like that. You can sometimes get parents or grandparents coming in very upset with you that you are even thinking to offer something that's not vaccination. It can get very intense and you need to be aware to hold that space and that's why I said you've got to be confident. Don't just go into it without doing like your course or doing my dad's course or reading the literature, not just the literature on homeopathic immunization, on diseases. Know your diseases that we're even talking about. Know the mortality rates. Know what's going on. Know the vaccines. Just know everything. Just have a couple of weeks of deep diving into the whole immunization topic. But so it's not always so peachy. But then, by the end of the conversation, when you're very professional and you're giving them all their options, they realize, okay, you're not trying to force anything down their throat. You're not saying you have to homeopathically immunize. They go, oh, okay, you're actually just here to give us options. I'm going to take this home, fight with my pregnant wife, and then we're going to come back and do her option. No, that doesn't always happen. But for the parents that need a compromise, what we do is you can do the combination method. So that's where we use homeoprophylaxis and pre and post vaccine support. What it looks like is they will start by homeopathically immunizing when the child's very little. And that's usually because the parents just have some reservations or intuitively are like, oh, I just feel they're too little. Or if they've had a tricky start to life, if they've had to have a lot of antibiotics or if they've had to be in IU. There's always some times where little ones have a tougher start than others. So you might go, I better just hold off. So we homeopathically immunize just per normal. We do it exactly the same as if you were just going to do it. Then when that parent's ready or they feel the child is ready, so that they're old enough, or they're like, okay, I want to put them in daycare. They're driving me crazy. Let's start vaccinating now. Then we move to the pre and post vaccine support. And a lot of parents will sort of do homeopathic immunization for a couple of years and get them covered, get their immune system really strong. Then we do the pre and post and we space it out. I will say a side note on that. Daycare and kinder is grueling for the immune system. It's grueling. Any parent who has put their kid in daycare and kinder will say, oh yeah, that is true. I don't like to do a vaccine catch-up schedule at the same time I'm doing daycare and kinder prep because I do a lot of prophylactic work for daycare and kinder. Otherwise, you're going to have a child sick for the first year. And let me tell you, it is not healthy or normal to be sick every month for 2 years.
Yes.
So I say, let's not stress out their body by making all these antibodies from the vaccines and all these antibodies from just the general germs and hand, foot, and mouth and gastro. So I would rather start vaccinating. Oh God, this could be controversy. I'd rather vaccinate earlier and do the pre and post vaccine support, get them up to date, then get them into daycare. So I know that they've gone through all that. And then when their body's about to really take an immune knock, we're going to really test the immune system at daycare and kinder. Then we can do prep work there. We can give Oscillo. We can give Giardia. We can, if there's hand, foot, and mouth, give Coxsackie virus. So, I do a lot of prophylactic stuff. I have little daycare and kinder protocols. So you can email me and I can send it to you. That's fine. Just advice on what I recommend. So, yes, I do like to do my pre and post vaccine catch-up schedule because remember, the catch-up schedules are really intense. They're going to try and put so many on one day and we like to space them out. So if you think your little one's going to go into 3-year-old kinder, let's start thinking about, potentially vaccinating and doing that slowly and doing it really nicely at 2. I know there is a grace period eligibility acceptance form. I get that. But that means that I'm going to be doing all these vaccines at the same time your little one's getting, ambushed by germs. So yes, the other way that you can do the combination is for parents who say, I want to vaccinate against, say, tetanus and meningococcal, or, there is no tetanus vaccine. You have to do the infrahex or DPT. So say they're like, I want to do whooping cough, like the DPT and meningococcal, but I don't want to do MMR. And we're like, fine, let's do pre and post support for them, and let's homeopathically immunize for the others. So yes, that is the 4 methods that
I love that there is so much choice.
Yeah,
so
many
choice.
options. Yeah.
Incredible. Do you know, a couple of things I just made notes on. One is that it always amazes me in the mothers groups how women will spend days and weeks of their pregnancy researching strollers or the best baby carrier, but they don't spend that same amount of time researching things like vaccines or homeopathic immunization or all that sort of stuff. So, at least record how much time you spend on the right mattress for your baby and pillow and stroller and baby carrier and bottle and pump. Add that up and then spend at least that on going and doing Isaac's, booking a discussion call with Leiah.
Have a look, booking
doing
in a
course
session.
Reading. just you should be spending as
and
much.
Dad still offers sessions too.
Does
but only
he?
on phone.
Aww.
Yeah, I don't think I think he's very he's short and precise. He's on the phone, you're like, hello. And he tells you this amazing information and then you make your decision. So I don't know if he's saying it in the way that I say it, but it's the same. He's so pro-choice, my dad. But I'm pretty sure I could be lying by making that up. I think he still does some occasional phone calls. You can email him and ask him if you want to. And I would say get in there because I'm like, Dad, you have to retire one day, right? You can't just work forever. But homeopaths do, though. We do. We're all
my
homeopath
just turned 84 and she's...
Yeah, we're all going to work.
I feel guilty though. I'm like, you should be retiring, but I can't do without you. I want to tell you a cool little story because I was taught also that, HP is bad when I did my 4 years of study.
Oh, really?
In New Zealand, why do you do this? Homeopathy is about treating symptoms and why are you treating when something is... So my first couple of years after graduating, I was like, no, homeoprophylaxis is stupid. Why would you do that? Blah, blah, blah. I was that homeopath. I'm like, I have so much humble pie to eat. It's
Shame
just
on
not
you.
even funny. Not even funny. So,
but then we're taught, right?
But then I moved to Perth 9 years ago, and then it was only because of No Jab, No Play that people started asking me about homeopathic immunization and all these other things. And I'm like, oh, I should go and do research. That's when I bought your dad's book 9 years ago. I read it. Then my mind exploded because he did his PhD on, the 4 groups, and the health outcome of the group that did HP was so much better than the others. And that convinced me then to homeopathically immunize my kids, even though they were 5 and 3 at the time. So my kids were older when I did. You can do it at any age.
Yeah.
But the thing that really got me is with this energetic blueprint, the opportunity for the vital force to heal energetic disturbances that's there that won't be there if you wouldn't know that it was there unless you prodded the vital force a little bit.
Yeah.
And the most powerful example, and this is now going back, say, 7 years ago, when I was doing these little HP talks, and I was treating this guy, and he, in the consultation, told me that he had whooping cough when he was 18, so he's probably late 30s at that time I saw him. Had whooping cough at 18, and he's been never well since. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting.
Wow.
A couple of years later, I think they had the baby by that stage. No, maybe they had the baby at that stage. And then I did a talk and they said, we want to do homeoprophylaxis. And they gave the potassium nosode. And this little baby had the biggest clearing reaction where the parents were like, you've given our child whooping cough.
Yes.
And for a second, I freaked out. And I'm like, oh, what's happened? And then I'm like, luckily, I don't know if I would have, because I don't actually treat men. This was kind of just especially because I knew the family. And I was like, hey, didn't you say that you had this really big reaction when you had the actual whooping cough? So just for our listeners, what the vital force is basically telling us that this dad had what we call a never well since. He had whooping cough at 18. Ever since then, whenever he gets a cough, it sounds like he has whooping cough, but it's not, and it will linger for a very long time. He then had a child, the energetic susceptibility of that, or whatever the vital force disturbance energetically, epigenetically got passed down to the baby. And it was lying dormant there until the homeopathic remedy stimulated the vital force or held a mirror up to it, if that's what you want to call it, held a mirror up to it and say, hey, is this something that you have any energetic resonance with? If there wasn't any energetic resonance, nothing would have happened. But in this case, there was. And the vital force was like, thank you. You've given me an opportunity to clear out this thing that my dad's handed down to me.
Yeah.
So then the vital force is stronger after that. And if you didn't do homeopathic immunization, you wouldn't have known that susceptibility was there. and even our family. So my great-granddad died of tuberculosis. And so we have this tubercular theme in our family. And so the remedy tuberculinum is very deeply healing for me and my kids as well.
Yeah, wow.
So and who knows how far this tubercular miasm went back, but I just happen to know my grandma always told me that her dad, so it's a great-granddad, died of that because he worked for the municipality in the trenches, got tuberculosis and died. And then her mum went to the municipality and said, you have to give my daughter a job because you killed my husband. And my grandma worked for the municipality for her entire life for like 50 years. And so that's why I knew the story. And I knew that
miasmatic stuff
I know. I knew we had this tubercular susceptibility. But who knows what sort of stuff your ancestors might have had that they might have been never well since. And so with homeoprophylaxis, I feel you have this opportunity to energy to clear all of this stuff. And look, if there's no resonance, your body's not going to do anything with it. But if there is, it will.
And that's why we only do a triple. That's such a great story, by the way. Thank you. I got so much out of that too.
Oh, good. Yeah. I'm so glad it can go both ways.
No, it's just such a beautiful way to explain it so simply how it happens. And to do it in a real life case scenario just makes it so much more understandable. That's why we also only give a triple dose. We give 2 pills in the morning, 2 pills at night, 2 pills the next morning. We don't do it every second day for 2 weeks. And we don't do it because otherwise you could really cause an aggravation. We're doing just a nice gentle poke, a few pebbles, just a couple of pebbles. And we start with 200 and then move to 10M. We're not going, the 10M is like really where the magic's at, but we start with the 200 and then we move to the 10M, because if that susceptibility is there, you don't want to over push it. You don't want to over poke it. You want to just gently kind of move it out, let the vital force work its magic. Then you're no longer susceptible and diseases are a breeze.
Your dad's homeoprophylaxis book should be a required text for all students around the world.
So good. Well, CHE just saying something.
Yes, absolutely.
Putting it out there.
Definitely, absolutely. It's taught me so much more than not just homeoprophylaxis, but helped me see just the endless potential of homeopathy.
It's the principles. We just got to be reminded of it is endless. It's a great way to say it, what we can do with this medicine. As long as we follow those principles of minimum dose and similars or like cures like, the medicines are just endless. So yes, homeoprophylaxis is one of my favorite. I'm very blessed that I was born into this world of homeoprophylaxis because I just love working with parents and I love working with babies and pregnant mamas and post-care. And you get to sneak in on those immunization discussions. Make sure you give them some arnica before to have baby if they need some, colothalum. Remind them that after a couple of days when the milk comes in, they're going to feel a bit sad, a bit sepia. So if they don't bounce out of that after a couple of days, go give them some sepia or pulsatilla. But, it's nice to be able to then you talk about immunization, but then you can kind of touch on all this other amazing stuff. And then usually once you have those clients, you have them for life.
Yes,
absolutely. So it's a blessing.
And
I'm always humbled by this medicine.
Blessing. These families that you get to work with for years. Oh, it's so cool. It's so cool. I love it. I love my clients that I've had for years. And sometimes they just pop in once a year or a couple of times a year. But their story and it's a very special relationship. Yes.
It is. We're showing how old we are.
Leiah, I love hanging out with you. And when we did our, 3.5 months trip in the caravan around Australia, I'm so grateful that we got to meet and our kiddies got to meet and we got to hang out.
Beautiful.
I would have liked to have been a fly on the tree, like, when we were at the park, like, because it was like,
all of us.
I don't think we finished any conversations, but it was just so lovely to be together. And so I'm glad we got to have
hanging out at
our Saturday morning. Look at us sacrificing our Saturday mornings to give information out to people.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
It's such a pleasure. Give us a rundown again, just in case anybody hasn't listened to last week's episode. Give us a rundown again of all the places where people can get hold of you.
Yeah, so I have my clinic, Holistic Health Medicine and Ranges, and you can just jump onto that. I don't have a lot of my immunization information there. I'm trying to keep the clinic. So that's where you can get all my products. Or if you need to book in a consult with me, you go to whmr.com.au. So that's the Holistic Health Medicine and Ranges. So that's where I am clinic-wise, but you can email me on info@leahgolden.com. And I do have my website, which is Leah Golden Homeopathy, which I'm about to really jump into Dad's website and put a lot of this information together and sort of go through and just have 2 spaces where we can offer so much stuff. And that's going to have a lot of homeopathic immunization. I'm not going to go into sort of vaccine stuff, maybe pre and post, and I want to start doing some more clips there and chatting about some topics that not everyone wants to chat about, but I just think we need to make this whole topic of immunization not so controversial and just make it just a good conversation. I can't wait till the day people can say, oh yeah, I homeopathically immunize, and they say, oh yeah, I vaccinate, and that's it. No one cares. I'm looking forward to that day. So my websites, or you can email me, or you can listen to me on your fabulous podcast.
Yay! Thank you so much, Leiah. I really appreciate it. You have such a generous, generous heart. It is mind-blowing. And thank you for all the work that you're doing for homeopathy.
You.
And I'm excited. It feels to me like it feels like it's way more bigger, exciting things happening for you.
Yes, there is actually.
Yeah. Thank you so much for taking the time today.
You're welcome. Thank you.
See you. Bye.